Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm very happy to have you here, guys. This video will be a little bit different than my usual reviews or tops or layering ideas or any other video of that sort. Today I want to share with you some fragrances that are discontinued, first things first, but if I would have the power, if I would have magically the power or a magic wand of some sort to bring them back, these are the fragrances that I would bring them back first. Now, I've mentioned this aspect in some of my other videos, but for some reason, my luck when it comes to fragrances is the following. I discover a fragrance that's outstanding. It's that fragrance that, sometimes you discover a fragrance that feels like it was created for you, like only for you, like the perfumer. It's almost like the perfumer had you in mind when he or she created that fragrance. This is how I feel with some of these fragrances, you guys. But my luck in perfumes, they get discontinued. So if by the grace of God I get to, buy backups of the fragrance quickly after it gets discontinued, I still have the fragrance and I'm still able to wear it. If not, then I stop wearing the fragrance, because how can I finish a fragrance that's discontinued? Because I want to have it in my collection forever because I love it so much. So yeah, here I have 7 outstanding discontinued fragrances from designer, from Middle Eastern fragrances. So let's talk about them. But before I start, please let me know in the comment section what are some discontinued fragrances that you would bring them back in like this much time, in like a second, if you had the power to bring them back. So first things first, let me get the obvious one out of the way, because I think you are tired of hearing me talk about it. First things first, ZIMAYA Gold by Junaid Perfumes. Yeah. So I have very little of the fragrance left, and I have this one bottle, and after that, I don't know what I will do. But to me, when you think of a rose that's sensual and exotic, to me ZIMAYA Gold comes to mind. So it's a red rose, but it's warm, it's almost a bit jammy. It's paired with cinnamon, like lots of cinnamon, like a creamy fume vanilla. It's a vanilla accord that has this beautiful fume undertone about it. Something resinous in the background, but if you think like the sweetness, it's what dominates the most in this fragrance. The sweetness from the vanilla, the sweetness from the rose, the sweetness from the spices. To me, this is perfection in a bottle. I think they did this DNA to perfection. Like genuinely, there's not one facet I would either change about this fragrance, or I would add, or I would remove. Nothing. To me, this is perfection in a bottle for my taste. Yeah, this is me in a bottle. That's why I say like this is the kind of fragrance that I feel like it was created for me in a way, not with me in mind, because they have no idea about me, but I love it so much, and it fits my taste and my style and my personality, and it has everything I love in a fragrance and more. So yeah, and it's unfortunately discontinued, impossible to find, but this is the first fragrance I would bring back, and I would buy dozens of backups to be able to have it until the rest of my life here on earth, until the last day here on earth, So that was the first fragrance. Now, let me highlight something. The fragrance that made me discover my love for resinous balsamic facets in perfumes. And also this fragrance has a very special sentimental value for me, because this was a gift from my partner. This is Alien Essence Absolue. Can you see how little I have left of this fragrance? Like, this fragrance doesn't even see the light of day, you guys. I keep this fragrance in a completely different space from my usual fragrances that I keep the majority of them here behind me. I keep this fragrance in a box, in a cupboard, to make sure that the little I have left, I will save it and treasure it for years down the line. For the sake of the video, I will do one tiny spray here on my hand, but I'm not even sure if this sprays anymore, because last few times I tried, this got stuck. It doesn't spray, you guys, it's stuck. Genuinely, like, I tried to spray it, but I cannot because it's stuck. So this, to me, this is a solar fragrance. If there would be such a thing of a solar sun-kissed resinous balsamic fragrance, this would be it. It feels so warm. It genuinely feels like it exudes heat from within. The jasmine, yes, it's bewitching and it's intense, but it's not this nighttime kind of jasmine. To me, it's a jasmine that feels like a jasmine of the desert. That's the image I have in my mind. Like a jasmine of the desert under the hot beaming sun of the desert, paired with the most beautiful myrrh accord. And it's interesting because the myrrh, I love the smell of myrrh in fragrances. I freaking adore the smell of myrrh in perfumes, even in my day-to-day life. I find it like myrrh, only smelling like myrrh, like the resin as a standalone product. It gives you such a complex olfactory experience. It's like so many different feelings and textures and facets and emotions you feel when you smell myrrh, or at least when I smell myrrh. But the myrrh here in the opening almost had this minty facet to it that added such a funky, crazy, but crazy in the Thierry Mugler way. You know, Thierry Mugler fragrances or fragrances from Thierry Mugler back in the day, they all had something edgy about them. They were almost like the odd ones out, like when you would go to Sephora, because this, can you believe this used to be sold at Sephora? Like, when you think of the fragrances you find now at Sephora, that, don't get me wrong, very beautiful, but the majority of them are very, they play it safe, you know, they play it safe. And when you think you used to find this fragrance, like the odd one, like the black sheep in a way, this is like the black sheep of fragrance from Sephora, because this is everything but generic, but simplistic, but boring, but made to be liked. This was created for people who appreciate edgy, or this edginess in perfumes. This was created for people who love, who perhaps are a bit more artsy and creative and, I don't know, rebellious of some sort, I feel like. And the power this fragrance exudes, again, this to me, in a nutshell, like I've mentioned, this is like a warm, sun-kissed, resinous balsamic perfume. And yeah, that says it all. I'd bring this fragrance back yesterday. I would bring it back if I would have the possibility, but yeah. And speaking of fragrances from the era of Thierry Mugler, before they became Mugler and before, yeah. Another one, this Bira bottle of Masque Mysterio. But for this one I have backup bottles. But this one I can actually spray it because the sprayer is still working. I don't even know, like I will try to show you. Do you see the color this fragrance has, you guys? Generally, it feels and it looks like a tincture, like a potion of some sort, like something like a witch would make, you know? This was my first encounter with an animalic mask ever. And also this was a gift from my partner. If I have such a specific taste in fragrances that if people in my life would try to purchase a fragrance for a birthday, let's just say, or something of that sort, unless I would tell them what kind of fragrances I want, like either X, Y, or Z, most likely they would miss. Because I have such a specific and a particular taste when it comes to fragrances. I know really well what I like, what I love, what I dislike, what I don't like on myself, what I like on others. Like, I know my taste very well in fragrances, in fashion, in everything. But my partner, the way this man knows me, like the fragrances is gifted me, are like some of my all-time favorite fragrances. Like I've mentioned, this was my first encounter with an animalic mask, and this to me is one of those memorable fragrances when it comes to animalic masks. When you think of mask or mask accords, because now mask has been forbidden for I don't know how many years, but when you think of a mask accord, like think your designer masks, so think clean masks, you know, think Miskel Tahara, so think clean powdery mask, a baby powder type of mask, a clean shower gel kind of mask, clean soapy mask, you know. I feel like, I don't know, maybe a good 80% or not even, like a good 90% of the fragrances I've tried with mask, they are all your clean mask. They add some airiness, they add this clean feeling, they, you know, this is the vibe. But then there are some fragrances that have this wild, untamed, primal, raw, animalic mask that hits your nose, that feels carnal. It feels genuinely, this smells carnal in a way, like narcotic even to a certain extent to me, like the way they've created, like the way, like the direction they chose to make the DNA of Alien go towards is something you don't come across every day. Yeah, and this is an outstanding fragrance. Think the DNA of Alien paired with an animalic carnal mask. paired with beautiful spices, like lots of different spices. To me, if this is like a sun-kissed balsamic resinous fragrance, to me this would be like alien taken to the desert on like a hot but very dry desert, you know? You have this woodsy accord that feels so dry, almost like sand in a way. I don't know how to describe it. It's interesting because all these fragrances, like they evoke very strong feelings and emotions in me when I smell them. Like there's not one fragrance in today's video that when I smell it, I'm just like, yeah, oh my God, it smells so nice. Like, oh, why they have discontinued this fragrance? In a way, they all have kind of their own touch of genius of some sort, if you ask me. For my style, and I think that's the most important disclaimer, for my style. But yeah, this is another fragrance I would bring back in a second. I can see why this was released first for the Middle Eastern market, this along with Oud Majesto, because for the Western market, this is not something that you are used to. This is not something that you come across. This is not something that, it's like love or hate. It's polarizing, but this is what made Thierry Mugler fragrances be so remarkable and emblematic. They were polarizing and they were all edgy and funky. They were, like I've mentioned, to me in my mind, those older releases from Thierry Mugler all were like the black sheeps of the perfume world, of the designer perfume world. But in the best way possible, don't get me wrong. So yeah, now speaking of designer fragrances, I want to highlight two fragrances from Calvin Klein. Calvin Klein, yes, Calvin Klein, because Calvin Klein again had two releases. There were three in the collection, but one unfortunately smelled like celery on me and it made me think of soups and basement pretty much. But it's the Euphoria line, but to be more specific, the flankers to Euphoria. So Euphoria Liquid Gold, Euphoria Amber Gold, and Euphoria Pure Gold. So again, I had all three flankers, so Liquid Gold, Pure Gold, Amber Gold. But my two favorite ones are these ones. Again, as you can see, this is not the most worn because I cannot find it anymore, but let me take it one fragrance at a time. So Euphoria Pure Gold. I've had the OG Euphoria in my collection. I remember I bought that from the airport when I was going, I think, on the first holiday outside of Romania with my partner. I bought that, I was wearing that in Cyprus, I was loving it until I overdid it one time and it made me nauseous, and after that I just gave it to my mother because I couldn't wear it. I generally couldn't wear it because every time I would put it on, it would make me nauseous again. But the flankers, it's where the money is at, you know. Let me just spray this fragrance. So liquid, pure gold, not liquid gold, pure gold. Date and leather and neroli, you guys. You have this punchy, sharp, almost like a punchy, sharp orange blossom with a green edge about it, with a beautiful, sticky, warm date accord and this unapologetic, funky, suede leathery accord. Oh, you guys, this is so complex and so in its own world that it's even hard to put it into words, like to give it a proper description, because a lot of different things are happening. But again, this is hands down one of the most unique fragrances I've tried from the designer section. And when I mean unique, I mean unique. And the price for this fragrance, like I think I purchased it for, I don't even think I paid 50 euros for this fragrance. So it was a steal, like a freaking steal, because if you were to find something among these lines, it would be in a niche brand, and if you were to find it now, it would be much more than 150 to 100 euros, because that's usually the prices these kind of blends gravitate, you know, towards. The edginess, the creativity, the unique factor, to me this. And again, when you think it's Calvin Klein, you guys, Calvin Klein, that, okay, yes, they had Pure Obsession, they had Obsession, so they also had some fragrances that were more like, I don't like your supermodel from the 90s, you know, Pure Obsession, I think, no, or Secret Obsession, or this one right here, that was your narcotic, heady floral with spices, with plum, with, think supermodel from the 90s, and they also had this one right here. But besides that, I'd say a good 95% of their catalog were with fragrances that were your not citrusy, your like freshy florals, your aquatic marines. I think when you hear Calvin Klein, you are thinking of fragrances that are unisex, so androgynous fragrances, those you could wear it, but your partner could wear it. You're thinking, I don't know, like musky florals. You're thinking overall fragrances that are more like quote unquote your designer kind of genre. You are not thinking of these kind of fragrances like a date with neroli, with orange blossom, with leather. It's slightly smoky. Like, you are not thinking of these kind of fragrances. So in a way, it was such a fun and unexpected surprise. And these were blind buys also. I had nowhere here locally to smell them. But these were such fun surprises to me. And I remember when I got them in my collection. Yeah. So that's the first one. And then moving on to this one, to Amber Gold. Amber Gold highlights a honey accord. Let me just take a moment to spray it. And so Amber Gold, sticky, you guys, sticky honey, like sticky, warm, syrupy honey dripping everywhere. So it's so rich and intense and enveloping. In a way, to me, they kind of, how to describe it? So they definitely overdid the honey. Not only the sweetness of the honey, but how complex and how full of dimension the honey accord feels here. But that's their touch of genius in this perfume, the honey accord, and how they've blended it. So they've blended it with cinnamon. They've blended it with something that smells like an incense accord that's burning in a way. So it's not smoky per se, but it feels dusty in a way, like a dusty incense accord. Warm also, it's with something sticky and dark and plummy. Like this, to me, like they truly did something with this fragrance. Like, if you think Scandal from Jean Paul Gaultier is naughty and out there, this to me takes it even a step above that. But yeah, you guys, these fragrances, like, they don't create these kind of fragrances anymore. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they don't create fragrances like these ones anymore. And again, this is not like a release from early 2000s. I think this was like what, like 2016, 2014, 2015, if I remember correctly. And this one I think was the latest one. I think this was around 2017, 18. I might be completely wrong. I have no idea. It's been ages since I've looked these fragrances up on Fragrantica. So yeah, but yeah, this one for the honey accord, they really made it to be quite a spectacular record. And I remember, especially when I was starting my YouTube channel in the first few years, I kept recommending these fragrances, and you could find them at like discounters websites. So you could find them for like, I think this one I bought it for, maybe I'm wrong, but again, 30 something euros if I remember correctly, which is again a steal for how unique and unapologetic these fragrances are. So yeah, I don't know if you love fragrances that are edgy and different and creative and unique, and if you still find these fragrances at reasonable prices, because you know, I think fragrances, when they get discontinued, they go to few phases. Let's say first phase, you see it not with all, but with some, I'd say with a good majority. You see it on discounters websites for a steal of the price, which also happened with these fragrances. But then when they are truly impossible to find, you see them on eBay for like 5 times the price. So I am back, but I had to make some room on my cart because I ran out of space. What I wanted to say is that if you're still able to find these fragrances for reasonable prices, and you love the idea of what I've described, do a bit of research and perhaps try them. Why not? Because again, both have the potential to be signature worthy perfumes. Like, they truly are something else, at least for me, just like all these fragrances are. Now let me highlight another fragrance that I've mentioned quite a lot, my disappointment with its discontinuation. This is Noir for Women from Tom Ford. And this fragrance, you guys, to me, it's one of my signature fragrances, and this works so well layered with Sajaya Gold. This works so well layered with vanilla royal sugared patchouli, not really with Arabian Stonka, even though they do work, but it's not like the first combo I do with Arabian Stonka. But these are the kind of fragrances that I could say, like, if I would have to only choose 5 fragrances, these are the first 5 I would choose, because these are my signature perfumes. Oh yeah, I wanted to spray it, but this, yes, they've discontinued this fragrance and they've kept the version for men, but the version for men lacked that lactonic quality, that thick lactonic quality that made this fragrance so... You know what I like the most about this fragrance? I don't think I've ever tried a fragrance that takes balsamic accords into such sensual territory. Every time I smell the fragrance, I feel like I want to buy 10 more bottles of it. You don't find this kind of fragrances anymore. And I have a sample of the latest addition to the Noir line, but it's not the same. I can sense the common DNA, so the spices, that sweet spicy facet, but it's not the same, you guys. What the perfumer, I think her name is Sonia Constance, she did a wonderful job with this fragrance. It's such a beautiful balance between, so think cardamom, think dried yet very sweet orange peel, think this thick sweet condensed milk type of accord, and the most beautiful resinous balsamic balmy texture wise quality in the background. And to me, when you try a fragrance that's resinous balsamic forward, usually it's the resinous balsamic quality that dominates, or that ambery like accord that dominates the fragrance. But to me here, it just sits in the background and it only adds some edginess to this sensual of a fragrance. Yeah, like this DNA, again, this DNA was done to perfection for my liking. There's not one note I would change about it. There's not one note I would add, I would tweak out, I wouldn't change not even one thing, like 0.5% of the fragrance. Like, to me, this was done to perfection, like genuinely to perfection, just like all of these fragrances are. I think they all shine in a very specific scent category, all in their own scent profile. I don't think any of these ones are alike in any way, unless that, I mean, the only common ground I can sense is that they all have their own touch of genius. So yeah, Noir for Women, one of my all-time favorite fragrance discoveries, a fragrance that I will always treasure. And when I will have, I don't know, like 5-10 ml left, I'm gonna stop wearing it. But until then, just like with this fragrance, this is why I took out the freshly opened bottle, because I have a little bit of the other one and I genuinely want to wear them. Now, last but not least, you guys, this was one of the first fragrances in my collection. Wow. I remember I couldn't even find it in Romania, and I have a cousin in Germany and she bought it there for me and then she sent it to me, or she brought it with her when she came to Romania, I don't remember, but this is one of the first fragrances in my collection and one of the first fragrances that made me fall in love with the note of rose in fragrances. This, along with Sheikh Al Shuk Lux by Latafa. Yeah, but rose in a very specific style, not the garden youthful innocent rose, no, the opulent, the gemmy rose, the royal kind of rose in a way. Yes, so this is rose calligraphy from Aramis. Oh, you guys, this fragrance, I think up to date, this is hands down the most beautiful, complex and well executed balsamic rosy fragrance, like a balsamic and a gemmy rose fragrance that I've ever tried. Like, I don't think I've tried one that went beyond this fragrance. To me, again, nothing I would change about this fragrance, absolutely nothing I would change. This DNA was done to perfection, to perfection, to perfection. And let me tell you why. Of course, to my nose, keep in mind I am biased because I'm talking about some of my favorite fragrances here. Okay, so the rose is so gemmy and concentrated that it almost feels a tad fizzy in the opening. Like, how to describe you, like, think something among the lines of Turkish Rose Absolute. This is how I would say the rose accord is done here. So it's intense and rich, paired with saffron. The saffron here, it's not your medicinal translucent saffron. No, this is a saffron that adds some spiciness, but in a way this warming up sensation to the fragrance. And I smell a beautiful myrrh accord in the background. Myrrh in all its glory, you guys. A very balsamic myrrh. Intense, multifaceted, rich, layered, sweet, but that specific sweetness of myrrh. I don't know, I could bet that in this fragrance went myrrh absolute or something of that sort, because it smells so realistic, genuinely. Yeah, this smells hot and red and fiery and passionate and royal and bold, and yeah, I don't know. There was also another one made around saffron calligraphy. I don't know if I remember the name correctly, but it was, I will add it here on the screen. It was like a orangey yellow kind of shade, but a very similar presentation. I wanted to try that one, but I didn't get a chance to try it. I think there were 3 fragrances in total in this collection. This is the only fragrance I've tried from Aramis, but if you see this color, this is how this fragrance smells like. Outstanding, you guys. Oh my god, one of a kind, genuinely one of a kind when it comes to the world of rose and more fragrances. One of a kind. This is what really made me fall in love with rose accords in fragrances, and because of fragrances like this one, because of fragrances like Sheikh Al Shuklaks by Latafa, I've learned about myself that I love spicy facets in fragrances, that I love balsamic resinous facets in fragrances, and that I love rose in fragrances, but jammy rose or rose absolute. So yeah, these are the fragrances that I would bring back in a second if I could, with a magic wand of some sort. There are still a few other fragrances, but if I could only bring, I don't know, like 7 I think I've mentioned. These are the first 7 fragrances, or however many there are, that I would bring back in a second, in like this much time. Yeah, I don't know, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was more of a fragrance talk, exchanging different opinions about perfumes, that type of video. So this is pretty much everything I wanted to tell you guys for today's video. Please make sure to put some fragrances in the comment section, some discontinued fragrances that you could bring back in a second if you could. I think it's nice to remember fragrances from back in the day, or fragrances that, I don't know, they truly did something remarkable in our collection. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I will hopefully see you in my next video, but until then, I want to wish you an amazing day wherever you are. Bye!